get the
And
recording.
then also, we don't have a quorum yet, so
Oh,
you have the meeting, but you can't really vote on it.
can't. We can't approve the minutes. Not yet.
Right, yeah.
Let's see, well then, how about we? Emerson, can you tell us about the diversity training? You emailed me, and I know they're kind of done with that cycle for this year, so are we looking at maybe next fall?
Well, yeah,
for-
the diversity training that we held, was- at the beginning was going to be a general diversity training, and we could have attended. The city, contract with, but we thought more, we got a special person that diversity with the city charters.
Mhm.
She's done this in several cities to make sure that the EI is part of the decision process.
Mhm.
So, we did approve a budget, I think $50,000 next year for DEI. And that's like a tear in the ocean for what we need for that. So we're gonna see what's the best way to spend it. So it's a priority for the city council, but there's other things that we need, so.
Yeah.
Who knows, but yes, so. Cause you got
You now have a quorum.
Yay,
I said,
so, the new budget year starts in July, so at that time we'll probably start, looking to see how they're going to spend that $50,000. But it's not a lot of money for DPI.
no, I know, training is expensive.
Before I retired, my job, I had a $250,000 budget every year for the next 5 years for DPI, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, but it was a good session though. I mean, the person that delivered the message to us, explained how DEI should work in decisions of making charter changes and how he called it crap, look at different things. At different things, that's it. Charter review advisory, what CRAB.
oh, okay, I get it.
There has to be a better acronym.
Inside joke.
Yes, but no, but DEI is still on the city's agenda and.
That's good.
Hey, so,
This one's. Sorry. So I'm sure we'll move forward with some type of.
okay, well, I'm gonna call our meeting to order then. Do we want to do roll call? I'll start. Lexi O'Brien here.
Scott Gresh here.
Jill Magruder here.
Sinton Felder here.
Emerson Smith here.
Katie Miller here.
Right. I sent the minutes to you. It was kind of late at the end of the week. Did y'all have a chance to look? Does anyone have any edits to those?
And I apologize, it's not Lexi's fault. I was on vacation. I thought I had better access to internet, and I didn't, so I wasn't able to get it to until like Sunday.
That's a good thing, Dale. You on vacation.
That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Not having,
No
not having
apologies.
internet was not a good thing.
Well, it sounds like we don't have any changes. Does someone want to move that we approve them?
I move that we approve. Second.
All right. Dale, I have you up next to talk a little bit about training, but I think you might have kind of done that last meeting. And so this was kind of a bridge over. So should we give you a pass on this one?
I don't really have any update on that. I mean, again, if you have any questions on it, the only thing I saw that I thought that as far as being given an update on was the defamation flyers that went out. And I'm pretty sure we put something out on the Easons and with the Webster Kirkland Times. But the bottom line on that is, I'm not sure. There's a real gray area in terms of hate crimes.
Oh,
So when
can I maybe frame it up? Because I don't
Sure.
think the rest of the board knows about this at all. So a couple weeks ago, I was on a walk with my daughter. And on the sidewalk along the street, and you might have seen this in Facebook groups, but it's an anti-Semitic flyer. And apparently someone was throwing them out, probably out of a car window or something, because they were found along Kirkham, they were found in Rock Hill. Apparently at quite a few different areas, but kind of along major streets.
it was throughout the St. Louis area. but they-
Yeah, I'm sure that they weren't just targeting. I've seen people post like in the Central West End, there have been things that get put up on,
Glendale before it hit us.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just, well, I was shocked to see it because I haven't seen that before. And oh gosh, I don't even know really what to do. Or, so I knew the Anti-Defamation League. And so I took pictures and I emailed Dale and the city council. And so that's what Dale is talking about now, so we can continue. Thanks.
So, I mean, we took a general police report on it. The detectives are trying to follow up and find out, they can identify who the person here in Webster, because there's more than likely there's more than one person distributing. But there's a group that the Anti-Defamation League and also the Fusion Center, which is the Intelligence Center for St. Louis County Police, are following. They identified the group, they think that they know, they think these are people that are responsible. But we really can't do anything unless we can identify who did it, and then we have to take it to the prosecuting attorney to see if it's prosecutable as anything. We would think it'd be a hate crime. There are different parameters on that. So we really need to identify somebody before we take it to them and say, okay, do we have something we can prosecute? That's where we are at with it right now. There's 2 investigators that are on it. I don't think they've been able to get too far. We've had a number of people say they have videos, but we couldn't get any license plate. All they have is a blue SUV. And the videos don't allow us to identify the person. So we're probably not going to be able to do that, but that's where we are. And I'm sure that other departments, other cities are doing the same thing. And I know that the Fusion Center is, the ADL is a law enforcement agency, but they track this kind of stuff for informational purposes. That's law enforcement. So that's kind of where we're at on it. Obviously it's a heinous, reprehensible thing, but unfortunately, I should say unfortunately, we have the First Amendment and it has to go into the area of the hate crime.
Right.
Federal agencies, unless it's something egregious, generally aren't going to be spending resources on prosecuting flyers.
Yeah, it was, I hadn't really encountered too much of that before, and just wondered, is there any kind of tracking that's done locally in the St. Louis region of that you share information with other departments or?
That's at the Fusion Center. It's manned mostly by St. Louis City and St. Louis County Intelligence. There's twin things in like St. Charles County and other areas. And it's staffed by probably, I think there's probably a dozen people that staff it. And they cooperate with organizations like the ADL, but they also cooperate with other law enforcement agencies. So that kind of information is distributed and siphoned down to local communities and counties. But again, they think this group's responsible for it, but they don't have enough probable cause to really do anything with this kind of thing. If we're able to identify somebody and actually are somebody's and be able to go to the prosecutor and say, we've identified a suspect, this is what we have, then they could say whether or not it meets the definition in terms of the state statute. And we've also reported federal as a hate crime, like I said, and it's totally understandable. They have limited resources, they're not going to spend a whole lot of resources, on trying to track down flyers. It's like I said, it's something.
That's to rise the level of vandalism or something like that, which we've had happen
Right,
in
it's something,
St. Louis.
it would generally be serious property damage or somebody being in danger or threatened danger.
You had vandalism around here before.
Well, yeah,
It was
that's,
related. I think there was a painted.
there's been a couple of
Couple of
occasions,
yeah.
I think the one that was the most, I would say was serious, but was most prominent, we had somebody came in, that's a swastika.
Right, that's right.
In several different places, and again. We have to be able to identify somebody to be able to prosecute that, and it's really difficult to do unless you're catching somebody and are able to have some kind of. Probable cause to make an arrest, and we haven't been able to do that. Unfortunately, it's like a lot of property damage, unfortunately, it's very difficult. But not impossible, but like I said, we are following up on it. I've had emails as recently as last Wednesday or Thursday when I was going on it, that I forwarded to the detective bureau. But again, they had a video, but they weren't able to get a license plate number on them.
Thanks. Yeah, the one thing that occurred to me is, all we can really do as a community is make clear that that's not okay, that we see it, we resist that.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that this group, and I'm sorry, I should remember the name, but I don't. I mean, they're a fringe extremist racist group. And they're way outside of the norm. I can't think.
I went to their website and I just was like, ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
So you know,
did that, they know who you are now.
I did, I was doing it, well, it's, everybody who's on spectrum.
I would think that 99% of the people in this community and the other communities find that reprehensible. And like me, I can't understand what would possess somebody, any kind of person, to do that.
I think they were organized. They organized what they were gonna do, and it all hit at the same time, then they left. That, we've seen it before.
Is it worth maybe adding a question to the Why Wednesday, just to kind of sum up what you just said to address it?
If they didn't,
Like that?
yeah, if somebody hasn't posed it already, I guess they probably haven't. Like I said, I apologize, I was gone last week, I was out of town.
I took a scroll through, I don't think there
There was
was
anything on
much
it?
about it. I just
I'll
looked over
talk
my
to
couple
Jolene
weeks,
tomorrow and ask that she can put it on the Why Wednesday.
Well, if you want the physical object, you're welcome.
Yeah, we have a couple.
What was so weird about it is I thought it was just such a mental disconnect that I thought that a kid could pick it up and just be very confused. Mark, you're welcome to see it. Looking quizzically, we're sharing on the table. But I thought, somebody might go not really understanding what it is. And yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that. I'm gonna move on to purpose statements. And I want to talk about actually two things together. Katie, do you have that from the email, the ordinance for?
You're muted, Katie.
I can pull it up. Lexi.
Okay, and then let's see. What can I do to get these two sentences to you? Because when I try to share, bad things happened. The audio went crazy. So ordinance 4 has come out of the city council and they've gone through all of the different boards and committees and done sort of a comprehensive organizing of it. And I think that there were some important clarifications in that. I think that some of them probably ought to impact our purpose statement. Although we may be in alignment already, but definitely our webpage. And some of our plans that we had for the info request form. So it starts at the very bottom of the second page here. The third page. There wasn't anything that really jumped out at me. Talks about the board's purpose to advise the police department, reflect the values and priorities of the community. Create a community where racial equity, diversity, and inclusion are lived values, with the goal of dismantling historical inequities in policing and building a community that feels safe to everyone. A lot of those phrases sound really familiar because we were looking at them last month when we did that exercise about defining our purpose. And it says our purpose is accomplished through facilitating collaboration and partnerships between the board, the police department, and people in the community. Talks about the qualifications, how board members are selected. What the board is comprised of. Then on the page that's numbered 15 is the first thing that I identified that was like, oh, we should make note of this. That the chairperson and vice chair shall serve as points of contact for the public with contact information posted on the board's webpage. So I thought that had an implication for what we did on our webpage. So right now we have Chief Curtis's email on there, and I know we've talked about getting the service account that's a general PCEB at webstergroves.org, I guess. And Emerson, can you tell us, would that serve if we had a general PCEB email that I would check? Or is it my personal email that is desired in this,
For the community to.
for the community to reach out?
Email to the PCB.
Yeah,
I would recommend a city. Email
okay, good.
address.
That's what we had intended to do.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
I-
the
you
city
can
email.
you can get in touch with probably Jenny or Katie.
I talked to Dr. Peters about it, and that's what someone's gonna require her approval. I'm not sure she's quite on board with that, but there's a couple of reasons for it. So if you'd like, I can discuss a little more with her, because she's gonna have to give approval for us to be able to use that address.
And one thing is that you'll start getting emails from almost anybody and everybody on anything. You know, so I think that's why it kind of sips through Katie a little bit and then come to the city manager and probably forward it on to you. Even our mail, even though I have an email address for the city, most of my emails come through the city manager or Katie, and then they forward it to me. So you don't want that to start happening. Yeah, that you start getting emails and try to respond yourself.
Right, yeah, we actually had talked about a process, you know, and that we would discuss emails that arrived for the board at each meeting, but I just wanted to make sure that our thought was in line with
Yeah,
what the council is thinking here.
you don't want to wait too long to respond to a
Right.
community member, because you know, if it's at the first part of the month, you don't want to wait to the last part of the month to answer. And just going through, let's say, city management, you'll be able to give a response quicker. So, instead of waiting 2, 3, 4 weeks.
And one of the responses be that we're gonna discuss it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, that's, I
especially-
think, what we were
Yeah,
thinking
because
is that
I
they're,
mean, it could be a full-time job,
oh, yeah.
and we all have full-time jobs.
You don't get paid for that, right?
But, you know, they'll read it, they'll address it, if they did respond to it, they'll send the response to you, so you know what happened. As far as the response to the community, or the person sitting.
okay. That just seems a little, like if I'm a person that emails and it's presented as you're talking to the PCB and you get another reply from, you know, whether it's the city clerk or whomever it might be, or from Dale, it just seems like a little bit of a disconnect to me. That wouldn't necessarily be what I expect. Has anyone else had that reaction or?
Well, it remembers me, I've been public service for 15 years, I guess.
Right.
Even when I was the Board of Education, We never got an email directly from anybody in Webster. It came to the whatever the lady's position is, they can do what it is. And, you know, as a board, sometimes we respond to it. When I was either chair or co-chair, president, vice president, it'll come to us and then we format a response. We'll let the superintendent read it and then we send it back. Want to make sure that we're on even, not doing nothing illegal or whatever.
Right,
And I do remember 2 times it was individual responded on their own because it sent to their personal email. And it almost brought up a lawsuit.
right, that's why I was thinking I didn't want like it even
Yeah.
coming directly to me with
I
that
think
language.
let's let the city staff do what they're supposed to do.
I think. Anderson articulated that well. I think that's the city's concern is that we just want to make sure that it's filtered that way so that we're not, that we. Make sure that you're aware of it and that the company, you know, that you can help formulate a response, but make sure that we're not saying something or doing something that might end up being negative either toward the board or toward the city.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that review of responses. I just felt like, is it odd that there's quickly a response from the city, but no one from the PCEB had looked at it yet?
I see copies of Dale's emails and the ones come in and ones goes out of all of the different commissions. We get copies of that, so we know what's going on. Not necessarily for us to respond to it, but see what it was. Everybody's doing it pretty much the same process.
Okay,
How long
so,
will it be between, for we see it, that the whoever responds to it?
I would say within 3 to 5 business days. It's something that the city has to follow up on. And understand most of them will. I got a pothole in front of my house or, you know, nothing really that need, so what was the last one we got? Oh, somebody wanted to put a stop sign at this particular thing that's shot over to Public Works. Public Works respond to it and.
Copies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
let them know we can-
Anything coming to the staff, generally they're gonna get a response, usually within a day, but certainly no more than 2 days. I mean, it's a fairly quick process.
Nothing went wrong.
guess if we acknowledge that, you know, that's how the process is, I feel like that was transparent.
Yeah, and I wonder, so what's actually listed as a point of contact? Should we just point folks to the feedback form rather than put any kind of email there? But then I think the question's still the same in terms of where do the responses from the feedback form go
Right,
back to?
it's
the
really
city clerk?
one and the same is
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Anybody call me and said, send an email to Katie, the city clerk,
Mhm.
you know, and Katie gets it where it's supposed to be.
I guess Lexi, maybe if I can kind of guess what you're getting at or say it another way. If we have a community member that's concerned about a police incident or whatnot, is that gonna deter them from reaching out if it's gonna go to the city? Where the board is supposed to be kind of the in-between.
The thing about that is that
Yeah.
you have to remember is the board really isn't responsible for complaints about police incidents. That's not
Yeah,
the role of the board actually, so those kind of things really probably would be appropriate for you to respond to anyway. That's something that really should
right,
come through us.
yeah, okay,
And we're aware of that. In fact, we even have language
Yeah.
that I'll share later that we were
yeah,
gonna put on there so that people know this is not the
And I
appropriate
would hope
place.
that you all know, and I know
Yeah.
Scott knows this, anything like that. Any incident involving the police that it has some kind of concern for the community or
Mhm.
interest in the community. We'll always go out to the board, discussed it, explained it. It said, police aren't perfect, unfortunately, our pool of employees is from the human race. So mistakes are made and we make it, we admit it, correct it, and like I said, we bring it to the board and transparent about it. But there are also times when there's concerns that the police, I think, generally done the right thing, and we can explain that as well, so.
Yeah.
Again, I try to really be transparent, I don't think there's anything that community's been concerned about that we've been reluctant to or tried to.
agreed,
And I
Yeah.
talked about.
yeah. So I think solve is as long as we are transparent in terms of who is
Yeah.
getting, if you're submitting or if you're emailing this email, here's who it goes to, and just kind of being transparent about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is being like not linear according to our agenda, but we're kind of into it now. This kind of relates to that webpage copy, and we had all talked about it, and I've got it mocked up, and that's the document that I had given you to see if you could share, Dale. I wonder if we should just, rather than drop this topic and then come back later, it would be a pretty quick conversation to just look at it now and see
Sure.
if, Dale and Emerson can both give us their take on it. Now, you're gonna have to probably zoom
We've
in.
only got one attendee, so I'm not, that's one of my employees. I'm not gonna share, try to do a share screen. I can share with him tomorrow. If he wants to see it.
Katie, though, can't see it. Let me see.
Oh, that's right, I
if there's-
forgot. Kenny, I'm sorry, I forgot about you. You're hiding back there. Are you able to see it?
I can, yep.
Let's see if I can bring it up. a little larger.
So most of this is just a screenshot of our existing webpage. And I did not mark this up with some of the other edits that I think we should probably make based on the ordinance clarification. But do you see the square box? And those of you that are sitting here in the room, you can see, well, no, you can't see, it's all there. It's the purpose statements that I have on that. So this is the language that we had all brainstormed about. How do we position this form? And this is what I came back with. Can you all see that? Okay.
I can see it, but I'm blind, so I'm hoping a little.
All right. When I have a long day in front of the computer, it's hard for me to read this kind of thing.
But we can see.
Okay, so I think it was more when I got to the fourth part. I wanted to make clear that we don't have any role in personnel matters. If you have a concern about a specific, and this is where, Dale, we really need your help to word it correctly. But if you have a concern about an incident, email Chief Curtis. I didn't know if there was a particular form or link on the police website. I did not see one. And then also we said we should let people know any feedback that implies some kind of danger to public safety, but we need to escalate that to the police department immediately. This is where we could add that a member of the city staff will help us manage responses.
Yeah.
For manage emails for timely responses, and that we can review them at our monthly meetings, which is actually earlier on when he said that. So are you all comfortable doing something like that? And is that consistent with and what we want to do?
Yeah, and I think also encourage them to attend virtually the follow-up meeting, and they will hear it discussed.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think.
gonna see if I can't
Only suggestion I might make by CEOs,
uh-huh.
as far as any feedback that implies an imminent danger. I mean, they can go to the police department. If this is an imminent danger, they should be really be contacting the side.
You should be calling 911,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe put that in.
Because believe it or
Pull
not,
up
there are
the-
people who would send an email for something that needs response immediately,
Mhm.
and we won't get the email.
Just like call my office first thing,
I'm
You're
guilty
having
of
chest
emailing
pain.
right after.
go to the hospital.
Where'd you come up with that advice?
So I'm gonna add to this. A member, a city staff, a city employee will help monitor this email to ensure that people receive timely responses.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think this is hitting on all the things we talked about and what Chief Curtis just summed up in terms of the purpose of it. Yeah.
I talked with Denny about trying to mock it up, and apparently the system that they have to use. It's not real easy to like save a web page in a staging area. It's kind of like, if you put it in, you're committed. It's gonna publish. So I went to Word. All right, so I think what I'll do is I'm gonna finalize this with some tweaks. I do want to have somebody help proofread for me.
Can we all do it and just give you a vote online?
Are we allowed to do that? Could I distribute this with the final language and
And then
ask
bring it-
people to reply to me? Yeah,
Just
your
think-
name?
Just think Katie a copy.
Okay,
She will respond it, so she'll know what's going in.
okay, so CC Katie. And then have people respond with their votes. And that's, oh, sure.
And I'm happy to proofread if you.
Yeah,
want.
that would be good.
Yeah.
I don't want to send it out to everybody with a typo in it. That would be
Yeah.
bad.
Let me confirm that with the city attorney. I think it would probably be okay for that type of farm. Especially since we discussed in the public meeting, but I'm gonna make sure we don't get any trouble, so let me run that by him.
And we'll have this,
Yeah.
then we'll go to Katie, so that'll be.
Well, can we give a partial approval online and say we're gonna give the formal approval at the next meeting?
That definitely would be okay.
We do that, with city council does it. But we always send Katie a
So
copy.
it looks good. And then we'll just.
And then we'll just, it'll be a
finalize.
formality.
It'll
The
be a
next
final.
meeting, we don't even have to show up. We'll say. All approved.
Well, it'll be the formality with public input. I mean, that's all purpose of sunshine law is that if you've got something that you're discussing in this policy, to give them an opportunity to have input into it, to make sure that you're not doing something the public's not aware of and that they don't.
Right.
They find either.
Are you talking about public input or PCB input? Just this.
I was just talking about our
Okay.
board.
But what you're talking about, I think will meet that. If you just give preliminary, yeah, we think this is okay. And we'll
Finalize.
vote on it at the next meeting. I think that's okay. I probably need to talk to the team about that.
Yeah, okay. So it's just, so we don't have to take this time next meeting to go
Right.
over it. Everybody will have seen it. Okay. Well, we're jumping all over the place on our agenda today, guys, but we're gonna get through it all. All right. There were a couple other places in the ordinance that I thought, oh, we should be sure that we're planning accordingly. So they do want to see, the city council wants to see an annual plan of action. And a report, a summary of our activities that we would provide to the chief of police, mayor, and city council. And Scott, I know that you worked with Kevin on a spreadsheet,
Right.
I think, of all
Right,
those
we shared
different
all that,
things.
yeah.
So you still have access to that. That
Yeah.
seems to me like that would be our starting point.
Mhm.
And we've brought up, when will we do different things? So we know we have that asset.
I think we all have that, don't we? If not, I can look for it and send it forth. It's kind of a table we had,
I remember you guys working.
yeah, kind of a table of all the different, went through the ordinance.
Yeah, I don't know if it got distributed to everyone or not. I'm not sure
I'll
that
go.
I have.
I
Yeah.
think, Scott, I do think we have it. I'll look in my stuff too.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good? Lexi, can we shut this one?
Yes, you can shut that off. Thank you. Let's see, on page 17, convene at least one citizen only listening session per year. And I thought this was helpful, an open, honest dialogue designed to promote a sense of comfort and safety for those who are sharing. So it's not necessarily a town hall. It could be something else. And I know John was really interested, John Buck, in helping to facilitate these, and he'd done a number of listening sessions at Webster Review. So maybe that's something we can talk a little bit more about next month when he's back. So those were the main things that were in the ordinance clarification. And I thought this was really helpful. Now, in the acting ordinance, Emerson, I remember there were some formatting problems with it. Do you know if that's been addressed or just does this take the place of that?
Formatting on the website.
It was the formatting on the final document that was signed by the mayor. It was the enacting ordinance for the PCEB back 3 years ago.
Right.
Oh,
And then certain sentences were
Yeah.
shifted in a way that it could change the meaning, so we had to get the formatting correct.
I'll give it to Jenny to see if it's. out
Okay.
there correctly. Yeah, I do remember somebody saying that words got cut off, I think.
Yeah,
And that's definitely. Since then, we've upgraded the software that we're using, so it might be in the position.
Let's see. Dale, because we've got Katie remote, I want her to be able to see these statements in this document that everybody else is looking at, hard copy. I want to move back up into the agenda purpose statements for consideration. And so let me see how I can get that to you. Let's see.
I could also maybe email it to Katie.
Do you have it handy?
Yeah.
That would be
That might
quick.
be quicker.
Yeah, I was gonna look and copy it and
Yeah.
send it, so that would be great.
Yeah, so Katie, I'll send you an email.
Okay, I'll refresh. Also, I found the hard copy of
yeah, I
the
got it.
document that you guys have. I was looking for it in my computer file. I'm not finding it, but it may be there. So,
I found it, it's under Kevin's name.
okay.
There are several things.
It says modified grid, 11/22/22.
Mhm.
Should be email in your PCEV.
Well, my date is 11, is November 29th, but it sounds it's the same thing.
Yeah, he had a couple iterations.
Okay,
Jill, did you send that to KFM PCEB?
That's the one I'm gonna do. Do you have a different?
Oh, no, that's good.
Okay,
so I'm gonna kind of refresh everyone's memory. Last meeting, we did that exercise where we looked at different statements that came from our members here and identified phrases. And then Jill took down all of the phrases that had multiple people validating that, yeah, that was important. And we have a couple of purpose statements. And Jill, do you want to set it up any more than that, or you're still trying to email?
no, I think I just got it. So Katie should have that shortly. Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Lexi said, just kind of took all these phrases, tried to work in as many as I could without, overloading it with and making it a clunky statement. Wanted it to still be something that, we could just say out loud when asked what the PCEB does. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot more context to add. But interested in the group's thought. Lexi and I talked through these a bit. We have a strong preference, I guess, or at least a preference to the first one that you see. Because we really feel like that one just kind of sums it up nicely. It's easy to say. But all ears for what folks think on these two, and or if we need to keep brainstorming with the other phrases that you see here.
I like that it's concise. I think personally, I also like Exhibit A
Yeah,
B.
what's in the charter.
on page 14. To me, we're just saying it in a different way, the same thing.
Yeah.
It's already part of the ordinance.
Yeah,
Oh, they're
Agreed.
too different.
I think it's, yeah, I was pleased to see that there was nothing that,
Mhm.
if anything, I think this, the new ordinance or the way the boards are described makes gives it even more clarity, but those happen to be things that were all important to us already.
Yeah.
So,
So Lexi and Jill, you kind of want us to kind of see if we'd lean toward one of these more than the other. Is that right?
yeah,
Okay.
and, and if you'd like, and if you feel like doing a little bit of, sort of wordsmithing on the fly, we're open to doing that, but we don't want to spend, the whole rest of our evening on it. We're happy to take it back and work on it a little more.
If you're gonna vote on those, somebody's gonna need to read that in public record.
Okay.
Instead of just having it in front of you guys.
Before we vote, can we talk a little bit about being the voice of the police department?
Yes.
Is that what we are? Is that what we think we are?
Well, that one I almost was like our purpose, I feel like our purpose is to be a voice for Webster Groves community
Yeah,
to the police department.
yeah, that's, yeah, exactly.
That's why I like exhibit A, B, it says it.
Mhm.
The purpose is to advise the police department and reflect the values and priorities of the community.
Mhm.
What page was that?
Page 14, exhibit A, item B.
Yeah, so if we feel like that captures it, and that's something easy to say, there's no reason to kind of come up with a whole new one. Outside of the ordinance itself.
I think the exercise was important to see that we're arriving at the same
Yeah.
place.
So Scott, you're saying rather than adopt the exercise that we did was great, but rather than adopt these sort of a little bit different words, just stick with B under exhibit A.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
already in the city ordinance, it's already
Right.
voted on as our purpose.
I think I tend to agree with that.
I'm like 80% in agreement with that, but there's the 20% of me that's a communicator. And thinks this is kind of long. And so our purpose was not to say, we were veering from the defined purpose, but more, it was a real shorthand way to be able to introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm on the police community engagement board. And, our purpose is to blah, 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 blah.
To the
This is-
colon, to the
Yeah,
colon.
yes,
You stopped at the
that's
colon.
part, yeah.
So just stop at the colon.
Wait, but somebody asked me and I said, our purpose is to advise the Webster Groves Police Department and reflect the values and priorities of the Webster Groves community.
And then if they have more conversation, then you can go to some of the others.
And then you have the next portion as your next answer. If they said, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's just a thought. And
If everybody's on board with that, I'm okay. We didn't have this. When Jill and I
it was a
started the
useful
process.
exercise. I'm not saying
It
wasn't
was,
useful.
no, that's absolutely fine.
I was on a subcommittee drafting the document. And based on that subcommittee too. We dropped all that lingo to feel who all live, work and play in Webster. So
Right.
we really shortened things down to be precise. You're right, the first section down to the
colon.
to the colon is perfect.
Okay. Well, then, do we, we've
Can I
got a
make a
quorum.
motion? Can I make a motion
Yeah.
that we accept that as our
We
purpose?
accept-
The
You need to
existing. exhibit B?
read, read
And
it
then-
in and then vote on it, so. And
Yeah,
anybody who goes back and watches this knows exactly what words you're voting on.
so I'm gonna move that we make as our stated purpose what's on page 14 of the current ordinance, exhibit A, section B. The board's purpose is to advise the Webster Groves Police Department and reflect the values and priorities of the Webster Groves community.
A second.
So we-
Discussion.
Those are things- all those in favor?
How it works.
Yeah, you first
Okay.
you discuss, then you say all in favor.
Okay.
So we kind of discussed it.
Yes,
So-
so,
We put the cart before the horse. So we arrived at that conclusion.
all right, we should vote on it.
Okay. All in favor? All right, well, that was
Anybody
so
opposed?
easy.
So.
All opposed? There's no one else here. Okay, so that was unanimous and it was easy and I think it was time well spent because I feel like I learned a lot about everybody else who's on the board and what's meaningful to them. So that was some useful sharing that we did. All right. So when I write up the changes on the webpage to Jenny, I will include this statement. I think there are probably some other revisions because it's older language where we summarized. And so I'll be sure that I call out what changed when I share that with you guys. So. All right, so we've gone through purpose statements for consideration. We talked about the proposed web page, and we've got a few little changes that I'll send out yet. I will try to do it yet this week, but if not, early next week, so it's all fresh in our memories. And then we're at the point of talking about updates from board members and subcommittees. We already talked about those flyers. Community days was the next thing that I had on the list. And then, so the reason community days is on here is we're looking for ways for more people to be aware that we exist. And to get them to come to our website and we offer some feedback and to build up enough awareness that when we host some kind of listening session, people know about it and they show up. So community days was something we talked about last month. I talked to the Parks Department and it's really the Lions Club that handles all of the tables and everything that happens on the carnival grounds that's at Eden Seminary. So I've emailed them. I have not received a response back yet. But I'm willing to go to that and get a table and we'd have to decide. I think we really need to have something, to share with people. Hopefully we'd have our feedback form and the webpage updated. We could have a QR code and maybe Sloan could help me with some flyer like
Something
to
the social
reel in.
media posts. Yeah. But then when I was walking up here, I ran into Jen Starkey and she mentioned the city's celebration of Juneteenth. And so that is a sort of a Black liberation commemoration. And it's celebrated on June 15th. It's going to be at Ivory Crockett Park. They're going to have a live band. They're going to be serving food there. I think there's a Black-owned business that had ice cream, she said. And they are going to have tables there because she said the sustainability committee was interested in doing that. So those are two different activities that we might show up to. And I wondered if we could talk a little bit about sort of what we want to accomplish there. What could we have that would attract someone to come to our table and have a flyer or what have you.
If you want to have an officer there, let me know. We can certainly provide one.
If we want to what?
If you want to have an officer,
Oh, yes.
but I think, I don't know, I'm not trying to tell you should or shouldn't, but if there's something that you think would be helpful, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think the Juneteenth idea sounds essential,
Yeah, that feels like the right event to show up at.
maybe both, if we have the capacity.
Yeah, community days, I don't think that we'd want to be there like the whole
Forever,
evening
no.
where everybody's there riding but there's probably during the day, maybe where it's more like families are coming with little kids.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll have to wait until we hear back from the Lions Club to see if they're even doing that anymore. I don't know. Didn't go.
Scott
last
can always build a float, you guys can get a float.
Yes,
I think it would be great.
well, so
Finally, people would know what he says.
Well, we can certainly, yeah, let's talk about that. The applications aren't due until the 16th of June, so we have time if we decide we want to do it.
Are-
I don't know where you put on the float.
Yeah, and well, I wonder if we like partner with someone, you know, like.
Then we
Does
get
the
lost.
police do a float?
We do not.
Okay.
With the
Um,
North Webster Neighborhood Coalition, they're going to join. Oh, shoot, it's the group,
Churches together.
churches together. And so, I'm sure there's probably room on the floor for you guys, you know, to have a banner or something like that. To say what you all.
I mean, that's a thought, because so many people see this parade.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's a great
Put
way,
the name in front
yeah,
of
Yeah, we could just carry,
yeah,
signs
because like
or have a
versus a
banner.
table, or I mean, we can absolutely consider both, but there's no kind of. Action we need to do other than hold up a sign, right? Like,
Yeah.
like there's no enticing folks to come to a table.
Yeah.
It's more in their face.
I walked last year with the, Metropolitan Congregations United partnered up with some people last year.
So, I mean, you can. I don't know, you have buttons made, badges made, t-shirts, I don't know, and give them, throw out candy. As you walk out. I don't walk that ride, so.
I think about ways to use our time that are like the most bang for the buck. And I don't think sitting at community days is the best bang for the buck. I think it would be much better to partner with some other groups. And that way we would get to know people in other groups and they would get to know us and then be a part of the parade. That seems like a better use of time and resources than just sitting at a booth at community days, to me.
Yeah, and there's kind of that forced, I don't want to say forced interaction with people along the route, but it is in a way versus, having people come to us at a table. We're the ones just engaging with folks on the side of the parade route, and it might be a nice way to just be like, if, here's our QR code, have it on a little sheet of paper.
Yeah, maybe we could just
Just
do
take
little
it out.
clips of,
Have that feedback form up and going.
I want to
Yeah.
check if that's permissible. To give out
To give out your,
flyers.
or like a
Okay.
business card size. Oh,
Might be
okay.
a
Maybe not, okay.
cleanup nightmare. If they try to
Oh,
drop
yeah.
it on the ground.
Okay.
There's a list of permissible stuff you can do, honestly, since I have been in a parade, I've only seen it like first time. Bottom line is, I'm not quite sure what's on it, but I can get you a list so that you can see what you can and can't do
Okay,
in the
yeah.
parade.
I'll do that, and I'll look up the application, but our goal is to partner with somebody else. Now, I'm on the North Webster Neighbors Coalition, although I've been for attendee the last couple of months. But I could reach out to them and ask if we could
Check-
partner with
Check with Dee
with Dee Dee.
Dee. She's taking care of that. And that's when we decided we'll just share the flow with, what's the group thing, Dave, what's the name of the group?
Churches Together for
Yeah,
Justice.
church together. Or, Clark Totem,
Yes, I know Clark.
that's the man.
Oh, okay. Cool. I know him. I can reach out to him as well. That'd be great. Okay.
But yeah, going back to the Juneteenth, I agree. I think that's a good one to just have a presence. What we have physically, I don't know, other than just here's our feedback form. If you here's who we are, here's what we do, here's our feedback form. If you've got questions, concerns, I think having a police officer would be nice. It kind of, I don't know if we could have part of the food that, you know what I mean? Like you have your barbecue over here and then you gotta go to this table to get your cupcake. maybe, something like that.
Would you like steal the cupcakes?
Yeah,
Like, come to us
just
to get-
to, you know, bring folks over to.
Last year they jealous.
Um,
I recommend getting with Jenny Stark.
yeah.
And see if you can have 5 minutes to acknowledge, it. You know,
Okay.
we're the police community engagement board, this is what we do, this is our purpose statement. If you have any questions.
Yeah.
Come to the.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
Did you
More
go to the
effective.
Juneteenth celebration last year?
Yes,
What's the environment?
we had band, we had gospel singers. I guess about 55 people out. It was just so hot. But it was nice event. We had cupcakes, drinks, stuff like that. So. And, oh, I did history. Yeah, I did just some history about Juneteenth. And we awarded gave Mr. Hart, acknowledged her work in the community. She's been lived here all her life. That's pretty much what we do.
It is only about 2 weeks away, 2.5, just for consideration, but. If we just kind of have a presence and we're allowed a couple minutes, it's probably all we need.
Yeah. I'll say that I'm willing to go, you know, I'm kind of introverted when it comes to big groups of people. So I'm not gonna be out there glad handing in front of the table, but if we have that 5 minutes and people know they can come talk to us. True. And
It's an
so
opportunity to say, here we are.
I don't think we all have to show up if that's something that is, you know,
It'd be nice if you did.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, maybe one of you might speak, but the rest of them be standing around the
Yeah.
microphone.
I was gonna follow up with Jenny anyway on something on the social post, so I will follow up about Juneteenth and tell her we're interested and
2, 3 minutes. That's all.
yeah, 5 minutes. Is,
Oh, that's all right.
We can keep them entertained.
Monologue, too much.
right, let's see, the last thing I have on the agenda, Jenny does have our lanyards all ready to go, so we'll be able to wear those at the event.
Pretty excited.
All right,
And I think on the 17th of June, I think is that the street dance?
Check them, so,
I
but I
think,
think it is the 17th, but I'm not positive.
yeah, that's the street dance by the old Webster Business District. I think they're gonna have on the 17th. I have no idea. I was in the meeting this morning, so. But they just block off. If they just dance in the streets, yeah, but that's another opportunity to mix, with, you know, be there in the public.
we don't have any more agenda items. Next month, we're gonna talk about the traffic stops and I'll reach out to John and we will look and see what we can come up with for our presentation. And now I would like to open this up. Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Can I make just a couple
Yes.
announcements? Just wanted to
Yes.
update you on some of the things that the council is doing.
Sorry about that.
You know, the city council, we're knee deep in budget. You know, and so we're making some creative and strategic changes to the budget. And I think the deficit that we had at the beginning of the year, we whittled that down quite a bit. We did have some cash infusions that we didn't count on. There's a couple of lawsuits that came about and we won, so they kind of helped our general fund out a lot. But I think this budget season is one of the most stressful, I think I can say. Is that about right, Dale?
It is.
Just last council, I think the council in itself, we had about 10 different amendments that we made to the budget. So we're working on that. But we'll still make some more amendments, it's probably the first week in June. But we're really making some good changes for Webster. See what else is there? Well, you know, we hired a new administrative judge. Got his name, Strickland. I know Whitney, our current judge, he has to retire, but he had the age limit. But we did interview some candidates. We had about a total of 10 on the subcommittee that went down to 3. And they came and they interviewed in front of the board for the council and we selected candidate. I can't think of that guy's name. But we will have a new administrative judge probably starting in July. We did look at the master plan, the proposed master plan, no decisions have been made for the aquatic center. They had about 4 different proposals. I favor the proposal just replacing pretty much what we have. I don't want to lose any capacity in the pool. Even that selection, I think we lose maybe about 100 people. But 900, 1,000 people not going to be in the pool at one time. But you know, just want to make sure it's as well. Some of the options, you know, it was like 300 and 400 people, and that wasn't acceptable. At least to me, it wasn't. So, but we're going to Scott and the vendor is going to come back to us with some more detailed information on that aquatic center. So we're excited about that. They're probably going to range somewhere anywhere from 11 to 13 million dollars. You got your adjustment. I mean, you got your amendment.
Appreciate that. I will say the council the last 2 years has done a lot more work getting into the budget and being involved in the budget process, which does make it a little more stressful, and I think it also makes it a little more purposeful.
Yeah. And not criticizing the old council, it's just that, you know, it's money sitting in the account is not doing us any good, you know, just to say I got a balance, no, let's use it for the best use of the city. And I think that's what we've done at least for the last 2 years. Dixon, Judge. Yeah, you know, we have the what's got 2 electric cars,
Yes, 2 EVs.
2 EVs.
They're sitting out there charging right now if you want to take a look at them before you leave.
We did a couple more. And I think we get 2 more stations, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
And this station here, so. That's,
They're rapid charge stations.
yes. They have to, they're more expensive, but for us to operate as duty on the street, they need to be fast chargers.
and they're a big up for the public. Forgot what the cost is per kilowatt or whatever, but. Glad that that's going. We did fund the sustainability plan, some of it, so. Making Webster more sustainable.
Do the kids of Rock Hill get to use the pool?
Yes, anybody.
There wasn't there an issue with that before?
It was.
Yeah.
A few years ago. It was
Yeah,
just.
so that's resolved.
Removing 2 little words, that's all it took.
Mhm.
Took me 30 years to do that, but it's, so.
All right.
But anybody from Rock Hill, anybody outside of Webster, they must pay the non-resident rate. Yeah. So we do have the swim pass program going again this year. So people that I say people, residents, even the surrounding communities, Shrewsbury, Rock Hill, Glendale, if they can pass the pool, they can get one at the pool, they can get one at Webster Rock Hill Ministries, school district. I think they sent out about, I think they told about 350 passes to to the parents that requested it, so.
But that's that Webster Swims program that people can contribute to. I know they've got links still in like some of the Facebook community groups.
Bring the money on, you know, so.
Yeah.
It's the first year we used 300. Last year, we had close to 900. So I think this year probably in the 12 to 1300.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I know it was going slow at first and they were a little worried.
Well, yeah, but I got a big donation at the end of the year. The first year we did it, to kind of calm my fears at least, but yeah, support that and spread the word about that. I think that's about it.
Yeah, it's great to have you back.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry that you've had problems with.
Yeah, my brother had triple bypass surgery, so. All of a sudden he figured he needed me for some reason. So. All right.
All right, Dave and Mark.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Thanks for having me, Lexi. I think I know most of you, Joe. I don't know who, Big Buck. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna relate this to your purpose statement, and I hope that your future thoughts, maybe actions, reflect the values of this community member. And I'm not alone. I live at 124 South Elm, just down 9 houses down from City Hall, 23-year resident. The issue is gun violence, which I think is the most important thing that you all will talk about today. Gun violence played a big part of my life. I grew up in Kansas when I was 6 in 1959. That was when the Clutter family was murdered in cold blood. And that murder forever defined what a mass shooting is. 4 members. When I was 11 in 1964, my 2 best friends, who were brothers, were shot and killed by their mentally ill mother. When I was 13 in 1966, the daughter of a very close family friend of ours from Wichita, where I grew up, was severely wounded at the University of Texas Tower shooting at Charles Whitman, which was defined as the first mass school shooting. And then 8 years ago here in Webster Groves, a very good friend of mine lived on Jefferson Avenue. He had bipolar mental illness, just like me. I've had since high school. I'm 70 now. The Chip walked out one sunny, bright day, walked down to Walter Ambrose, sat on the swing set, pistol in his mouth, was brain dead. So this is a big issue for me personally and for the world. And it's interesting, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. And it's interesting, CNN ran a great documentary last night talking about police community engagement, and the police were not engaged in that. It took them an hour before they even entered the damn school. And they showed footage never before seen for a year. And it's horrific. And I think about that because in Centron, you probably remember when Jace and Miles were both in Bristol. And Dale, I'm sure you remember, Bristol got 2 separate, distinct, threatening phone calls. Somebody called us up to school and said, I'm going to come and shoot up your school. And within minutes, because I got the flash, I know where I got it from. I ran over to the school. Police were there, fire departments were there. The kids had been trained in active shooter drills, so there was no panic. They knew what to do. School was locked down. Remember this, Dale, in Central? And it's like, I'm distinctly remember, but you guys handled it beautifully. And after watching what happened in Uvalde, it's like I just so grateful for what you did. And luckily it wasn't a real threat. I bring this up because yeah, there's community days and stuff where you can make a presence. On Sunday, June the 4th, which is a week from this Sunday. That is nationally wear orange day. Wearing orange shouldn't be hard in Webster Grove. That's our big color, right? But it's wear orange day to reduce or end gun violence. It starts with a march at noon at Webster Presbyterian Church. We'll march down Lockwood. I think on the sidewalk, I don't think the Lockwood is going to be blocked off. Everybody's going to walk down the sidewalk to Emmanuel Episcopal Church. In the front lawn, there'll be tables and chairs set up. And there'll be a 30 or 45-minute program. One of the speakers I know is Wesley Bell, prosecuting attorney of the city, will come and speak, and others. But it's, you know, we are so lucky to live in a safe, non-gun violent community. But so was Newtown, Connecticut. Newtown, Connecticut was 28,000 people, just like Webster Groves, nice little peaceful community. And look what happened. Second biggest mass school shooting in American history. So it can happen anywhere. So you got to be prepared. You just don't know. So we have to take actions to be prepared. I wish this march was happening in North County, where nationally gun violence is now the #1 killer of children in America. Not disease, not accidents. The #1 killer is and it's disproportionately greater among Black children. There are 70 million kids in America. 50% are white, only 14% are Black. But Black kids are 5 times more likely to get shot and killed than a white kid. This is the national statistics that I'm playing back. And what's interesting about it, where white kids, 2/3 of white kids who get killed by gunfire is suicide, 2/3 white kids. It's more than the opposite with Blacks. It's 75% homicides. And this isn't like a dad or mom shooting their kids. I mean, this is drive-by gang-related shootings, and it happens all the time in St. Louis, right? Luckily, it doesn't happen here, but we want to raise the awareness of this issue. I mean, this is massive. I mean, it's the #1 killer of kids in America. We have to do something about it, and we just need to be as prepared as possible. But Newtown proved that it can happen anywhere at any time, and we just have to be prepared as much as we can.
So what time should we gather? 11:45 or?
Yeah, it's just yeah, well, you know, if you want to park your cars at Emmanuel, walk down and then walk back for your cars, or just park up by, you know, Webster Pres have a pretty good parking lot, but you know, the streets are on a Sunday. But the march starts at noon, and we march down and just wear orange. If you wear an orange shirt. Great. But and it's interesting, one of the things, and I'll shut up, this is a big topic for me, I'm sorry, but it's like there are national organizations like Everytown USA, but the one that I like actually is Sandy Hook Promise. And these were the parents of the kids, the last 20 children. And versus like trying to ban assault weapons and stuff, which all that is important, legislation, laws, their focus, because a lot of mass school shooters are from the school themselves. They're young men, mostly 18, 17, 20 years old. They teach kids and people how to know the signs. So Centron is acting really funny, you know, and it is like, you're off your game and you're mad or you're depressed or you know what I mean? They teach you how to read the signs and then record it in to hopefully stop somebody from causing real harm. So that's it.
Thank you.
And it'd be great. And Churches Together for Justice is driving this event locally. And so, yeah, it'd be a great event for you guys because it is a community police joint thing. That's it. Thank you. Sandra, great to see you again. It's been a while. Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna respond
Dave.
to you real quick though, Dave. We actually, myself, Sloan, Centron, for our July meeting, plan on kind of presenting a little bit about what kind of training our police officers do for school shooting, what's in place at our current schools in Webster, the mental health aspect of it, with the intent of doing maybe some sort of article that we can refer community members back to, not to kind of say that it won't happen or we have all of the tools in place, but more to maybe just add a little bit of confidence that we have prepared to the extent we can, and try to have something to respond with when another school shooting locally or nationally does happen. So it is a topic that's come up before, and we're gonna kind of put something together around, what kind of training police officers. go
Well,
through and
for
all
what
that.
it's worth, and not a lot of people may share this. See, I don't think it's a gun violence problem. I think it's a human violence problem. And
Mhm.
whether they're mentally ill or they're just mad or anger or rage. But I believe a gun is a tool. No different than any other tool, like a hammer, shovel, a saw. It's only as good or bad as the person using it. And what's interesting, after Michael Brown got shot, it was 2014. 2 weeks after that, 3 teenagers beat to death a Bosnian man using common everyday hammers. It's not about the gun. Anything can be a weapon, but it's a person using it. And, that's what we have to be aware and cognizant of people. So that's it. Thank you. Good luck,
Dave, thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
working on this issue.
Katie.
Yeah, how do I follow that? I would throw on top of that, or he really made me start thinking about the issue of bullying. Which maybe is a little bit under the radar of this committee, police engagement. But when you're talking about the angry children, and we have a whole lot of that in the schools. So I would just kind of throw that in there, and if you're already working on that, bullying is just a major thing. And it seems to continue. And I'm not sure, what the answer is, but it's one of those awareness things. But I guess what I wanted to mention, and thank you, Lexi, is just when I see the makeup of this board, and I think it's wonderful, and people are coming to bring their knowledge and experience from the people that they work with, from the jobs that they currently hold. And it's such a diverse and wonderful mix. And I've been coming to this, not because I don't have anything to do, but just because I like to listen to these to various people and what they're saying and what the goal, as you were trying to build your purpose, it's amazing. And I know that there has been an empty seat. In fact, Lexi and Chief Curtis and I mentioned that at the end of the last meeting. And I kept saying, I would love to get on the board. So I found on the website, and I don't know if this still works, an application, and I filled it out. I don't know if it actually got to where it needed to be, but if there is an opening, I
Well, I can
will.
give it, I can give it to Katie. The 2 openings right now are for a business owner and for a pastor. So I don't know if there's a current opening for just a general member, but certainly keep it. And
Or your business owners?
Not here, not right now, but I will tell you, in terms of the pastor. And I mentioned to this, and I don't mean to be funny, but I was in the religious life. So I am a former clergy. It's like once a clergy, always a clergy. I'm not sure that that's true. But you know, I'm not now, but I can certainly walk and talk the beliefs. You know, and if that is honored and you don't get somebody who's a pastor right now, I think they're so busy doing many things, but I would relish the opportunity to be here to offer my background and my experience to work with you all. I think you are an amazing group of people. Lexi and I have been trying to get together for the past 6 months. It just doesn't seem to happen. So, you know, that's.
I'll make sure it gets Katie, and she forwards these to council, so I mean, they're the ones that really make the decision on whether or not you would meet the criteria they're looking for. So,
Okay. Or if I can be of service in any other way, please keep me in mind. I'll continue to sit over here in the wings.
appreciate the interest, Mark, thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Here's this.
Oh, yeah.
I want that, yeah. When you want to touch it.
Do we have any other remarks, or does somebody want to move that we adjourn our meeting?
I was just gonna mention the kickball challenge tomorrow. I saw that in the Friday page.
Oh.
Good luck if you're participating. But yeah, I like seeing that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of a perfect example of how we can, you know, just engage with
Right.
students more and, you know, create that positive perception of our police. So,
I appreciate it. I think the houses about, we're gonna have a lot of fun with it.
yeah. With that, I can move to adjourn.
Everyone in favor?
Hey.
You're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody, have a good week.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.